What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Seattle Emeralds MyNBA here in NBA 2K25. We are in the full swing of Season 2, and it's going okay. We're sitting at 7-8, good enough for the 9 seed right now. The Spurs, are having a dominant season so far through 15 games. They are 13-2 without Victor Wembanyama, but look at this team. Steph Castle, Cooper Flagg, Paolo, and Wemby, when he gets back, will be there at center. This team is dangerous, and I don't know how you beat this team in a 7-game series. They've got John L. Davis. They've got Alex Caravan, a few draft picks from a few years ago. They brought in Daniel Gafford. They still have Devin Vassell, Keldon Johnson. That Spurs team has the potential, in my opinion, to run the NBA for decades to come if they draft and trade and make good signings as we move forward. As far as the bottom tier of the Western Conference, right now you're looking at the Kings, the Clippers, who finally have kind of bottomed out after getting rid of Kawhi Leonard, but they have brought in a few G League guys. Here is Peyton Sanford out of Iowa. He's 24 years old. He's a solid guy. And then the Kings there at the bottom. On the Eastern Conference side of things, we see the Cavs still controlling it. They brought in Yusuf Nurkic over the offseason, Cam Reddish, Lonnie Walker. Got a solid core off the bench, not as good as it once was without Max Strus and all them, but their starting lineup's pretty much intact. They've got some solid vets with Mike Conley, Tobias Harris. The Cavs are just having a pretty good season all around. Raptors are the 2 seed. The Bucks somehow make it to the 3 seed with Walker Kessler now at center instead of Brook Lopez, who is over in Minnesota after we drafted him in last year in the expansion draft and traded him. And on the Eastern Conference side of things, bottom of the league is the Bulls, sitting at 5-9. Today we're going to be taking on the Timberwolves, a team that is really talented but has underperformed so far. They're sitting at 6-9, 4-6 in their last 10 games, but man, do they have a good roster. Rob Dillingham, Ant-Man, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, Randall, Gobert, Lopez, Taurean Prince, Duncan Robinson, Malcolm Brogdon, Jalen Clark, Terrence Shannon Jr. You can just go on and on with the talent for this team. I don't know how they are 6-9 right now, but they're just one game behind us, so this could go either way, in my opinion. And we really need to come out here quick, and we need to come out here and take control of this game, because the Timberwolves have such a talented roster. If you let them hang around, or if you let them keep a lead, they're going to do a great job of holding on to that and potentially expanding on that lead, especially with Ant-Man at the helm and a very much emerging Rob Dillingham at the point guard position, which is why they were pretty much willing to get rid of Mike Conley a season ago in order to replace him and allow Rob Dillingham to take over as the full-time starting point guard. We see Ace Bailey getting ready to walk on the court. He is ready for the jump ball. Goga Bitadze, Isaiah Collier, Jalen Williams, and Bobby Portis is your starting 5 for your Emeralds again this season. Haven't seen much change in the starting 5 here early on besides the Malik Monk injury, but he was on the bench. For the Wolves, you've got Dillingham, Randall, McDaniels, Gobert, and Edwards as Rob Dillingham starts the day with a slam on the cut. He's averaging about 17 on the season, shooting 40% from the field. The Timberwolves strike first early, 2-0 lead. Ace Bailey gets the screen from Bitadze. He goes straight to the basket. Dillingham is there to contest, but not much he can do as the layup is good for Ace Bailey. Julius Randle trying to be that second option for the Timberwolves. Gobert gets it underneath, and he throws it down. So a couple of early dunks as the Timberwolves jump out to an early 5-point lead here in this first quarter. Nice pick and pop. Bailey swings it to J-Dub. That 3 is good. Teamwork makes the dream work. 27 for Jalen Williams. So far on the season, he has been dominant since signing his Ant-Man. Hits his first shot of the night with the fadeaway jumper. He's averaging about 27 as well. Having a great season here in year number 4. What a find to Isaiah Collier. Ace Bailey, a little give-and-go action. Dillingham goes for the steal, misses it, and Isaiah Collier with the easy reverse slam just to get his first bucket on the board, and the Emeralds take a 1-point advantage. Naz Reid answers, as he is just one of the best shooting big men in the NBA, and it continues to excel for the Timberwolves here as they look to him as one of their favorite players. Ace Bailey, mid-range jumper's good. He's got 6. Bailey had 14 a week ago in the loss to the Austin Bullets. Now we'll see how he can bounce back from that. Jalen Williams driving. Jalen Williams misses the dunk. Oh, I was ready to go to berserk on that one as McDaniels rebounds it. He's going to bring it up and slow it down. Ant-Man gets past Badadze, lets it fly, and hits the three. What a turn of events. You go from a wide-open dunk as Anthony Edwards responds again. So a 6-point swing. Really, it's an 8-point swing because you miss the points on the dunk, and then you get 2 back-to-back threes. But Jalen Williams responds with a corner 3 of his own. We're now in the second quarter as Ant-Man misses the floater. Rondé Wood in the game. Drew Carl getting some run here, the late first-round pick as we go to Jay Will. He's going to lob it up over Randall, and a nice layup there. Cutting the lead now down 33-27. Randall trying to work on Jalen Williams. Let's see what Williams can do. He's going to do a nice job defending Randall. He gives it to DiVincenzo, who has to shoot it. Good contest. Good rebound by Rondé Wood. He's got a couple now. Corey Kispert in the game as well. Kispert's going to drive. He's got to settle it down a little bit. Don't want to make any unforced turnovers. He's being guarded by Naz Reid, who's going to get it down low to Rondé Wood. Wood kicks it off the double. Kispert for 3. Kispert hits it. I mean, it just feels like it's going in when Corey Kispert shoots the ball. Well over 40% from 3 for the year now. As they go outside, Brook Lopez, the former Emerald, hits a 3 against his old team. As he makes it 36 or 39-35 now. Terrence Shannon Jr. in the game. I mean, this Timberwolves team just has so many people that they can put in the game and who can perform at a high level. Naz Reid gets the offensive rebound. That is a disappointment there. You force a miss off of an open shot still, but you let him get another opportunity. DiVincenzo driving. He's going to kick it out to Anthony Edwards. Heavily contested 3 is good. Ant-Man hits that one. The Timberwolves pulling away early, 42-35. Isaiah Collier gives it to Bailey. Good defense from Ant-Man. Kicks it. Collier, contested 3, hits it. That's clutch. That one was big for the Emeralds offense as Anthony Edwards throws it down off the alley-oop. What a play for the Timberwolves offense. 44-42 now. The Emeralds trying to get back into this one. Ace Bailey gives them the lead by 1. Here, about 2 minutes to go in this second quarter. It is 48-47. Julius Randle up over Portis, and he lays it in. Randle trying to get back to those Knicks years. He's got 8 points on 4 of 6 shooting here on the afternoon. Randle now working on Portis again. 15 seconds to go. He settles it down, gives it back to Dillingham. Now he's got it back. Portis tries to block it, and it's a foul and 1. So potentially a 5-0 swing for Julius Randle here to end the second quarter if the Emeralds can't get anything going in this final 10 seconds, and he misses the free throw, so nothing good going there from the free throw line. Ace Bailey, little step back jumper. It is no good. Rob Dillingham is going to take it. Dillingham gets fouled by Collier, and they're going to give him a transition take foul. Anthony Edwards shoots it, so it does end up being a 5-0 run to end the quarter for the Timberwolves. Ant-Man, 23 points, nothing else. I mean, he's just shooting. He's not passing. He's not rebounding. He's doing nothing else. Ace Bailey leads the Emeralds with 14, but, I mean, he's not shooting well at all. This Timberwolves defense is everywhere at once. It seems like no matter what play call you make as Rajon Rondo's head coaching, as a head coach he draws up, seems like the Timberwolves have the answer as Anthony Edwards starts the second half with a miss from 3. That's a good sign. Maybe he'll be slowing down. Ace Bailey driving, swings it cross court to Collier, who hits the 3. He's got 8 on the night, 8 points, 4 assists. Not known as a scorer, but if we can unlock that part of his game, it's going to be vital to this Emeralds offense going forward as Anthony Edwards hits another 3. Step back midi is no good. Gobert puts it back up and in. Got to box out a little bit better if you're Goga Bitadze, as he is definitely struggling here against Rudy Gobert on the afternoon. J-Dub, maybe a bit of a mismatch with Rob Dillingham on him. He's going to get a screen from Rondé Wood. Dillingham gets caught on it, and J-Dub hits the 3, keeping it within 8 now here in this third quarter, 68-60. Drew Carl in the game. Randall's going to get double-teamed. He's going to swing it to DiVincenzo, who swings it to Shannon Jr., who hits the 3. Quick trigger there for Terrence Shannon Jr., and the Wolves go up 71-62. Long jumper is no good by Terrence. No, that was Rob Dillingham, excuse me. J-Dub now working on DiVincenzo. He's going to fire to Rondé Wood. Long 2 from Wood is good. He's got 5 on the afternoon. That's what we brought him in for. Develop that shooting game and protect the rim. Now swing pass to Ace Bailey. 3 ball, no good, but J-Dub staying on the offensive boards, down by 9. Can they make it 7? Bailey driving on Dillingham, mid-range jumper, no good again. Just great defense from the Timberwolves now. Terrence Shannon Jr. drives, kicks it, Naz Reid from Dillingham, and that one's good. The lead just gets right back to 11 for the Timberwolves. The Emeralds offense is struggling. The Emeralds defense is struggling. Can they get a response? Swinging it. Collier again from the corner. He hits it again. 11 on the night with 2 triples for Isaiah Collier. And that one falls, and that one's big as we head into the fourth quarter, down by 12. Can they make an impact? Jay Will gets it off the pick and pop, and he hits it with 3 to go in the third. What a shot. What an assist from Drew Carl, as Terrence Shannon Jr. is going to let it fly. Down by 9 is where we'll stand as we head into the fourth quarter. And man, oh man, we need some defensive stops. J-Dub, Drew Carl, Jay Will, Rondé Wood, and Corey Kispert are out here to start your fourth quarter. J-Dub gets the first shot of the quarter, and he hits it. He's got 19, 5, and 5 on the afternoon. What a performance so far from him. He has been very good and very consistent. Drew Carl now looking for his first shot, and he's going to go back to J-Dub, who misses the 3. That one would have been big. He had a good shot, or a good look at it. Terrence Shannon Jr. ahead of the pack in transition. He hits the 3. 89-77 now for the Timberwolves. Simon Fontecchio kicks it to Kispert. That one's no good. Torian Prince in the game now for the Timberwolves as well. Terrence Shannon Jr. has Fontecchio on him in transition, driving. Shannon Jr. throws it down with 2 hands over Jalen Williams. 17 for Shannon Jr. as he has just been electric off the bench for the Timberwolves. They have so much production off the bench, it's hard to even stop or focus on one guy when Anthony Edwards not out there, as Ace Bailey responds with a 3, cutting it back to 11. This one just goes back and forth. Almanza is going to drive. He's going to kick it to Shannon Jr., who's swinging it to Duncan Robinson. You can't leave him open. Shannon Jr. gets open again and hits the 3 again. He has 10 in the fourth. Terrence Shannon Jr. single-handedly just putting the dagger in this Emeralds defense. Now J-Dub gets blocked. And now this is my one complaint. I'm going to break realism here. This is a wide-open dunk. Wide open layup, wide open dunk. Instead, J-Dub gets caught in what appears to be quicksand just long enough for Almanza to catch up from about 4 or 5 steps behind him and just come all the way around and block the shot. And this is an animation that happens, I feel like, a lot in NBA 2K, especially when you're driving to the basket, and it just shouldn't. I mean, it would be different if it's a cut rundown block off the backboard or something like that. I'm fine with it. And then, of course, it leads to a wide-open 3 in transition for Terrence Shannon Jr. But that block, I mean, basically a dagger and basically just a fraud if you're looking at it in actual basketball terms of things, as Terrence Shannon Jr. drives and one. Why not add to his quarter? That is now 15, going on 16 in the fourth quarter, I believe, maybe even 17 for TSJ, as he misses the free throw, so he's not going to get the and-one conversion. But the Timberwolves have blown this one wide open, 102-84. J-Dub trying to drive with Badadze off the screen. He lays it in over Gobert. I thought he was going to get blocked again, but he's able to get that one to go. So it is 104-88. Only about 3 minutes to try and get something going. This time it's missed by J-Dub. Goga Badadze gets it. He's going to kick it back out to Ace Bailey. Bailey working on Ant-Man. Nice little swim-through move, and 26 on the night for Bailey. It's a 14-point game still for the Timberwolves. Isaiah Collier back in. We've got our starting lineup again. Bobby Portis has been very quiet today. Can they get the ball to him? Yes, they do. Portis, mid-range jumper, can't hit it. That probably just about does it. I mean, even if you hit that shot, it's not really doable, but, you know, maybe you have a miracle up your sleeve. Right now, it's not looking good for the Emeralds. Down 14, a minute 52 to go. Ant-Man swings it. Gobert dunks it down. Badadze left out of position off the screen, and that one is going to give them a 16-point lead. Isaiah Collier does respond with a quick layup of his own, so if we can just get, you know, 4 or 5 of those in a row with 4 or 5 stops in a row, we could come back and win this, but it's not going to be very likely to get those quick points and quick stops. Rob Dillingham gets stuffed by Isaiah Collier. Missed opportunity there for the Timberwolves. Bobby Portis ahead of the pack. He's going to go to Ace Bailey, who throws it down 94-106. So spoke a little too soon. You force a steal, And then you get a quick transition dunk. Let's see if they can get another stop. Ant-Man drives. He swings it to Gobert. Gobert's going to kick it back out to Randle. Back to Ant-Man. 1:08 to go. Julius Randle, float game. Strong hits that one. 1:08 to 94 now. Back up to 14. As that one probably just about does it as Rajon Rondo empties the bench. Bradley Kersey, second round pick, lets it fly and hits it. That's what they brought him in for. Maybe a Corey Kispert replacement. The Emeralds ending the game on a 14-6 run. But unfortunately, despite their defense playing well, as Terrence Shannon Jr. hits the three, their offense just couldn't keep up. I mean, we were able to pretty much lock up the Timberwolves in the end of this fourth quarter. The final 7 minutes or so, the Timberwolves only had 9 points, but the offense just was not able to score enough points. They started the game really strong. They ended the game strong. They just couldn't do it for long enough in that middle portion to go out there and finish off the Timberwolves as they take home this one. Terrence Shannon Jr. had 30 on the night. Anthony Edwards had 29. He only had to score, 6 points in the second half, and they still won by double digits. Jay Randall had 18, 3, and 5. He shot it really well. Rob Dillingham struggled from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. He had 9, 4, and 2. Naz Reid with 8 and 5, and 5 assists as well as 3 steals, shooting it pretty efficiently from the field. I mean, the Timberwolves, I don't really understand how they're so bad record-wise because this team is amazing. I would, if the Emeralds had this roster, I think we'd be a finals contending team. No doubt about it. On our side of the ball, though, Ace Bailey struggled, but he still put up 28, 3, and 5 as well as 1 block. So not terrible. Definitely could be a whole lot better as we're going to go ahead and simulate forward a couple of weeks here and see how this Emeralds team can perform. They went on a bit of a losing streak there, but they're able to bounce back now 14 and 19 on the season, and they will be taking on the Golden State Warriors next episode. But I am going to make an official change. I know we haven't messed with the starting lineup much. Goga Badat stays okay. I think it's time. Let's put Rondé Wood in that starting lineup. Let's see how he can perform as the second overall pick with a starting lineup, out there rather than playing with the bench unit. I think that's probably the best case scenario for Rondé Wood to perform better as an NBA player. And as I mentioned, 14 and 19 on the season right now, going into January. So we're right after the new year. We'll be playing the Golden State Warriors. This is a look at everything. The Spurs had a bit of a fall off in these last few weeks. The Rockets overtook them. The Spurs probably were experiencing, I imagine, some losses due to Victor Wembanyama not being around, but he's back now, so they'll probably be back in number 1 seed contention. They are about 3 games back. The Grizzlies, very impressive season for them right now. They made the move for Zach LaVine. They've still got their same young core. Kevin McCullough Jr. was brought in. Vince Williams Jr. still there. This is a really solid team. They brought in Keon Johnson, drafted Gustavo Nanali, who has not played a game. They also drafted Chip Jenkins, who has not played a game. But I think they've got a really talented roster there. Here's a look at the rest of the Western Conference. We have kind of fallen out, sitting at the 12th seed. Now, my goal this year is to make a play-in tournament spot, but if not, I really don't want to be in this purgatory area where we're 11, 12, or 13. If you're going to be bad, you want to be bottom seed. So we'll see how this team does going forward. The Eastern Conference has shifted a little bit. The Miami Heat, who brought in Kawhi last year, made the trade for traded Jimmy Butler for a couple of pieces from Golden State a few years ago. They brought in Igor Demon, who they drafted him 3rd overall 2 seasons ago. They are now really thriving. They have Khalil Ware. They have Bruce Brown. Derrick Jones Jr. is back in a Miami Heat jersey. This team's really interesting. I think they are very talented. Their draft pick this year was Tors Wilson, who has not played down yet, but he was a second-round pick. The Cavs are still really good. The Hornets, after having a really great season last year, they're having another good one this year. Look at this roster, performing pretty well. They brought in Fred VanVleet. They do have some injuries. Obviously, Nick Smith Jr. is kind of out for a little bit. Bucks still doing pretty solid. Here's a look at the rest of the Eastern Conference. The Brooklyn Nets are down at the very bottom. They have a solid team, in my opinion, but they just don't have the star power that it takes to win a bunch of any NBA games. And somehow they brought in Dyson Daniels. That must have been a trade or a sign. Gary Trent Jr., poor dude. What is his contract looking like for him to have signed with Brooklyn? He's on about an $8 million contract. He must have he signed with them last year, so he either got traded from Milwaukee or he signed with the Nets. As far as statistics go around the NBA, our team first is being led Jalen Williams with 21, basically 22, Ace Bailey with 20, and Corey Kispert with about 15. 5 rebounds per game for Ace Bailey, 6.5 for Badadze. I meant to say 6.3 for Ace Bailey, 6 for Bobby Portis, 5.2 for Jalen Williams, and 5.0 for Jalen Williams. Coincidentally, assists, we don't have a lot of them. J-Dub with 4.5. Malik Monk was averaging 4, but he only played 4 games. He hasn't been back. He's still got about 2 to 4 weeks before he'll be back to be, playing. And even then, it's probably going to take him a little bit more time to ease into the feel of the game. Isaiah Collier has 4, and other than that, it's a drop-off. Steals, Ace Bailey's leading the way with 1.1. J-Dub has 1.1 as well, and Bobby Portis is getting about 1 a game. Blocks, Goga with about 2. Ace Bailey with 1, and a couple of guys around the 0.6, 0.7 mark. Turnovers, Isaiah Collier and Ace Bailey are tied with 2.3. Field goal percentage, obviously, Bradley Kersey only shot it 1 time, so he's really good. But for the guys that actually play, Badadze, Rondé Wood, Ace Bailey, J-Dub shooting 50% from the field. That's very impressive on the volume. They have 3-point percentage as well. Corey Kispert shooting at 45% from 3. Ace Bailey 44% from 3, and J-Dub 41% from 3 on very high volume. These guys are shooting it lights out, and we're still losing, which is the scary part, because you're shooting that well and you're still losing. At bottom of the NBA is actually Tariq Whitehead and Sebastian Valentine. So a couple of guys drafted in the most recent years. Whitehead a few years ago back in 2023. Valentine this past draft. As far as league leaders, points per game, you've got Luka with 25, Embiid with 25, Jason Tatum with 24, Karl Anthony Towns with 24, and Cade Cunningham with 24 as well. Rebounds per game, we're going to go Jokic with 12, Embiid with 12, Holmgren with 11, Sabonis with 10, and Mobley with 10. Giannis is actually tied with Mobley with 10.2. Assists, Tyrese Halliburton having a good year, 22.5 and 8 and basically 9 assists. Scoot Henderson finally coming on 17, 4.5 and 8 assists. Jokic 8 assists. Basically 9 for all those guys. Garland has 8.5 assists, and Trae Young with 8.5 assists. Steals, Jalen Suggs having a great year with 2 steals per game, 1.6 for everybody else between Gilgeous-Alexander, Victor Wembanyama, Ant-Man, and VJ Edgecombe there in his second year. Blocks is going to go Holmgren, Wembanyama, Kessler, Alex Sarr, and Joel Embiid. As far as field goal percentage goes, Donovan Clingan having a good year. He's coming off the bench shooting 64% from the field. Here's a look at everybody else. 3-point percentage, let's see who's leading the NBA. D'Angelo Russell is leading it on 50% three-point percentage, although he's only played 31 games, so he hasn't played every game this year. He's currently out with a strained right hip. Buddy Hield is tied with 50%. Isaiah Joe having a great season, 48% from 3, just what the Thunder ordered. That's a 5% increase from last season. Corey Kispert is there. Aaron Wiggins is there, and then we see Ace Bailey as well with 44%. So maybe he will get a chance to compete in the three-point contest. That would be really, really cool in my opinion, but we'll see how it goes, as we're going to check out now the rookie statistics. I know you guys are really interested in this, and there's some guys that were rookies last year technically, but they didn't play a single down, or a down, they're saying football, a single second on the court. So we'll talk about them as well. Glenn Griffin, though, is the #1 guy right now. He was picked 3rd overall. I believe he was the guy that was drafted by Atlanta. Don't quote me on this, but, the video was a few weeks ago, but I believe he's the one that was drafted by Atlanta and got immediately traded to Austin in that trade, draft and trade. So he's averaging 14.5, 8.5 rebounds, 1.5 assists. Will Riley, drafted 7th overall a few years ago, or last year I should say, is finally playing for the Wizards. He's having a good year, 13, 6, and 1.5 assists as well. And Mackenzie Mbago, how do I even say that word? Migbako, maybe, is having a good year for Detroit with 11, 5, and 1. Boogie Flan. Let's see if we can actually find guys who are rookies this season. Stephen Longley, the center, drafted out of Oregon State. He is having a solid season for the Hawks. 9 points per game, 2.5 offensive rebounds, 7.5 total rebounds. He's almost getting 1 steal per game. Doesn't shoot the ball from 3, but he's having a good season after getting drafted 10th overall. That's the guy that I believe was traded for Glenn Griffin. Alvin Gordon, undrafted. I believe he's a G League guy, was 21 years old. He's having a solid season for the Bucks, averaging 8.5 points, 1.8 rebounds, 1.3 assists. Just a good score. Trey Washington, the big 4th overall pick point guard, having a solid season for the Suns. He started 26 games. He's averaging about 26 minutes per game, 8 points, 5 assists, 1 steal, and, shooting okay from the field. Obviously, rookies aren't going to have the highest volume, but he's not really shooting great from 3 at just 30%. Hans Yang, the 2025 second-round pick for the Hornets, having a solid year as well. Jonathan Mills, another G League guy, having a solid season for Milwaukee. Jake Cole is up here as well. Every time I say his name, I feel like I'm talking about the rapper. He is the 6'10 power forward shooter from Duke. He's having a good season as a backup for the Pistons, coming in about 20 minutes a game, shooting it pretty solid. 7 points per game, 5 rebounds. That's all you can really ask for him. He's shooting at 40% from the field and 31% from 3. You would have maybe expected a little bit more. And somehow Cliff Russell is not starting for the Rockets. And, I mean, this guy had LeBron comparisons. I would have loved to bring him in. Obviously, if we have him, we probably don't go after Jalen Williams. But you've got to be happy with that. Unfortunately for the Rockets, though, they drafted him #1 overall. And he's just kind of rotting on the bench. 14 minutes a game, 7 points. He's shooting it well when he is on the floor. I don't really understand that. Jamal Carter having a solid season for the Warriors. 9 points or 9 minutes. He's only played a couple of games, though. Dame Sarr from a few years ago playing for the Kings now. Bruce Hood, the 7th overall pick. He's played in 35 games. He's actually got to start 21. He's having a good all-around year. 6.5 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, and about 0.7 blocks and steals a game. Once again, another guy that does not shoot three-pointers all that much. And then Drew Carl is here for the Emeralds. He's kind of taken over that backup point guard role once Malik Monk went out, so he's played about 12 minutes a game for about 30 games this year. He's averaging 6.5 points, 1.5 assists, and shooting it okay from the field. Not really doing a lot of high-volume offensive output. Oho Wumbum is there. He's not playing a lot for the Magic. We'll see a lot of these guys play more as they go throughout their career and they get a little bit better. But let's take our first look at the NBA draft prospects here for 2026. Now, obviously, I'm prefacing this with the fact that the mock drafts change drastically throughout the year. We're going to look at this now. All of these mock drafts are very different. We're just going to go with the Sporting News one as our first introduction to this lottery draft. But obviously, these drafts, change. They shift. As you can see, Darius Montgomery's dropped in this one. A couple of guys have went up. They shift and change extremely throughout the season. So they're never going to be the same from day one to day the final day right before the drafts, unless there's like some, very, very talented NBA prospect out there that's, like a Luka, like a Wemby, something like that. So with that in mind, the way I say that is this is what we've got right now. We've got to scout. We've got to look at these guys, and it'll change. Luka Benedetti, for example, is probably not going to stay as the #1 guy on every mock draft, but this is what we've got right now. And this is where we're going to go. So let's start out with Luka Benedetti, speaking of which, the Italy shooting guard, 6'7", 210 pounds, 22 years old. He has been playing in the EuroLeague since he was about 16 years old, so very similar to another Luka and Luka Doncic. This guy is a very skilled and a creative playmaker. I mean, he's got high basketball IQ, very solid shooter from the 3-ball and from mid-range, and a pretty solid ball handler at the shooting guard position. He does play frame and weight wise similar to a guy like Luka Doncic. Now, I mean, I'm obviously not saying he's going to be Luka Doncic, but he does kind of play with a similar slow-paced, just methodical game. Obviously, with that in mind, he's a below-average athlete, I guess you could say, as far as speed, lateral quickness, and all that, and he does struggle on the defensive side of the ball, making some questionable decisions on that side of the ball as well. Besides Luka, if I had to compare him to anybody a little bit more precise, I was going to go with, and our scouts have gone with guys like Manu Ginobili. Danilo Gallinari's been a big one, because this guy could easily... Luka Benedetti could easily shift over to the small forward position, as well as Drazen Petrovic. And if we're going on the lower end of things, he's kind of got comparisons to a guy like Marco Bellinelli or Evan Fournier. A lot of the, European shooters that have a slower ball, less athletic ball game than some of your other draft prospects. Second up, we've got Jalen the Jet Carter, the 6'4" point guard out of Duke, one of the newest, I mean, just in a long line of Duke prospects here that are top of the draft. He's 20 years old, one and done guy. He is very quick, a very, very fast guy from Chicago. He has dominated college right now. I mean, look at this, 22 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists, 4 steals, 44% from the field. Not great from three, but he's shooting, and that's in 10 games. He's shooting solid from the free throw line. Jalen Carter, elite athleticism, very fast, very athletic, high basketball IQ, and an excellent, you know, just feel for playmaking in the court in general. He's got a very fast first step, very great passer, and he's a strong perimeter defender. Do not underestimate his perimeter defense. Unfortunately, he does struggle from the three-point range. I mean, he needs to work on solidifying himself as a three-point shooter, as you see from his stats, but he's got a solid, reliable mid-range jump shot. He needs to work on getting a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit stronger to finish through contact, but other than that, I really, really like what I see from Jalen Carter. He is a very, very highly talented prospect here in this year's draft, and I think, you know, some good comparisons to him. Guys like Derrick Rose, De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Johnson are some really, really good, you know, just straight up athletic, quick finishing point guards. That's what Jalen Carter is going to bring to your roster. Next up, we've got Darius Montgomery, the 6'9" small forward out of Kentucky, 20 years old, 215 pounds. Montgomery is a lanky wing who grew up idolizing, as so many players did, Kevin Durant. So his game is, I mean, very, very similar to Kevin Durant. An all-around versatile scorer. Just great first guy in the gym, last guy out, strong work ethic, and a high motor for a scorer. I mean, look at his, you know, his strengths. I mean, score, can win post up. Very comfortable shooting three-pointers. Should be able to hit jumpers from 15 feet regularly. I mean, this guy's great on offense. Very good physicals for defense, but he does struggle when it comes to being consistent and actually playing defense, and he's a solid rebounder as well. Really, the main thing is at 6'9", 215 pounds, he needs to bulk up a little bit. He's got, you know, okay effort on defense, but he needs to work on that as well. Kevin Durant's really his main comparison, but he does have a few others like Paul George, maybe a Rashard Lewis, a bit of a taller, small forward, power forward hybrid that can, you know, shoot the ball at a really, really high level. That is where Darius Montgomery comes into play. Next up, we've got the 6'6" shooting guard out of Oregon, 21-year-old Tyler Vaughn. Vaughn is a knockdown shooter with a very smooth offensive game. I mean, this guy is very refined on offense. I mean, he's got a deadly three-point ball, very smart off the ball. He doesn't need to have the ball in his hand, and he's an okay defender, but he does need to work on offensive anticipation, you know, being to the spot when he needs to be there all the time. But besides that, he's a below-average athlete, and he is going to struggle when it comes to finishing at the rim. For whatever reason, he doesn't have three-point stats yet, but he's averaging 16.5, 4 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 2 steals. He's shooting 41% from the field. Tyler Vaughn's a very good three-point option if you're looking for a smooth scorer there out of college, especially a guy that can play shooting guard and maybe even a little bit of small forward. Next up, we've got Caleb Drummond. He is projected to go number 5 overall at the moment. He's a 6'10" power forward out of North Carolina, 21 years old. Drummond is very, very intriguing. He's very tough. He's just relentless on the boards. He's a strong rebounder, good defender inside, and one of the better finishers when it comes to going off the pick and roll. Very, very slow, though, when it comes to lateral movement, and, you know, his perimeter defense and perimeter offense does leave a lot to be desired. He's got some solid comparisons to guys like Kenyon Martin, Derek Favors, Horace Grant, without the shooting that Horace Grant could have. Those are some big comparisons to Caleb Drummond. I think he's one of the better power forwards in the game. And in my opinion, if he can develop the three-point shot, I mean, he's not bad in college through 8 games. He's having a great season, 27, 7.5, 3 assists, 1 steal, and about 1.5 blocks. And he's shooting at 37% from 3, so that's solid for a guy who's not known as a three-point shooter, in my opinion. Next up, we've got Deion Maxwell, the 6'5" shooting guard, small forward out of Michigan State, 210 pounds. He's one of the younger guys at just 18 years old. Maxwell, very, very tough, defensive-minded shooting guard. He's going to be a leader. He's going to be a hard worker and just a very intense competitor on that side of the ball. And, while he isn't the strongest offensive player and he is a lockdown perimeter defender, he's got a solid mid-range jumper. He's, an okay finisher. He needs to work on being a little bit more reliable from three, but I do think, that defense can kind of alleviate his three-point troubles if he's able to develop that at all. He's got comparisons to guys like Josh Hart, Tony Allen is a really good one, Avery Bradley, Latrell Sprewell, and Davion Mitchell as well. Next up, we've got Isaiah Thornton, the 6'9" power forward out of Buffalo, 19 years old, 235 pounds. Isaiah Thornton is a defensive-minded big. He's very good in the post when it comes to rim protection. He's a good rebounder, and he's got a high motor. Unfortunately, like many other power forwards that are like that, limited offensive game. He does finish okay in the paint, but he needs to work on getting better outside of that. And he needs to work on getting, a little bit better when it comes to change of direction and lateral quickness. He's best comparison, in my opinion, is a guy like Ben Wallace, but he does also have Xavier Tillman, Reggie Evans vibes. I think Isaiah Thornton's a good role player. I don't know how he's going to be as a, starter going forward in the NBA. And as you can see, his stock is actually already dropping, actively right now. He's dropped a few spots in the last few mock drafts. Next up, and who the Sporting News mock draft has us actually projected to take, is Jamal Reed, 8th overall right now. Reed is a 6'7" small forward out of Houston, a very solid defensive player on that side of the ball, and he's working on his offense. He's got limited shot creation and needs to improve on his ball handling, but he's a versatile defender, a strong rebounder, and he's good at finishing in transition. Here's his statistics. 22 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, 3 assists. He's struggling, but, look at this. 2.5 steals, 4 blocks per game from the small forward. That's crazy. I'm shooting at 46% from the field, 28% from 3, and just 7 games so far on his collegiate season. Jamal Reed is getting comparisons to guys like Bruce Bowen, OG Anunoby, Gerald Wallace, Trevor Ariza type guys. Those 3-and-D guys that maybe weren't always the best three-point shooters, but they developed three-point shots over the course of their career, and that's something that I think Jamal Reed can do whether we draft him or not at the number 8 pick, if that's where we end up. Next up, we've got Andre Wallace, the 7-foot center power forward out of Arizona. Wallace is one of the biggest guys in the draft, 7 feet tall, 250 pounds. He's having a good season here in college, 20 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, and averaging about 1.5 blocks per game, while also shooting it pretty highly from 3 at 36% from the field. And that's what he brings. He's a very modern big man with versatility to his game. He's, a good floor spacer, a good passer, and his shot blocking ability is there. As you can see, 1.5 blocks per game. Maybe you would like it to be a little bit higher, but it's still there for a 7-foot guy. Obviously, he does have his weaknesses. He's not the strongest rebounder, which in college doesn't hurt him too much. He's still, taller than most other guys, so he can get those boards. But in the NBA, that might hurt him just a little bit more. And sometimes he does play a little bit too passive for my liking as an NBA center. But he's got good comparisons. Kristaps Porzingis, Brooke Lopez. Later in his career, Brooke Lopez, Miles Turner, guys like that who are stretch bigs there that have established that role for themselves in the NBA. Next up, we've got Jakari Simmons, the 6'4" shooting guard out of Alabama, 22 years old, averaging 24, 4, and 5, shooting at 45% from 3. Very good score. Simmons is a very, very, very high volume microwave scorer who can really just explode on the scene at any point for, a big game. He thrives in a very fast and up-tempo offense, but he does struggle with consistency. I think Simmons is one of the better scorers, but he's just not consistent enough to be a top 5 selection in this draft, in my opinion, yet. At least knowing what we know now. He's got a good release. He's a strong finisher and very clutch when it comes down to taking the final shot, but he is a poor defender. He needs to work on that side of the ball, being more consistent. He also has tunnel vision on offense. He really just wants to shoot every time he touches the ball. Jakari, very similar to guys like Jordan Clarkson, J.R. Smith, Nick Young, Lou Williams, and Seattle's very own Malik Monk. He's one of those guys, I don't know how he'll be as a starter or the star of an NBA team, but have him as a guy that comes off the bench for 15, 20 minutes a game and drops 15 to 20 points a game. Every other game, of course, he's going to give you 1 point per game, so that's the problem with a guy like that, but I think he could bring a lot to a team if he's playing in the role that he's made to play in. Next up, we've got Sergio Alvarado, the 6'4" point guard out of Spain. Alvarado's a very calm and collected passer when it comes to running the offense. He's a very good shooter, high basketball IQ, and as I mentioned, he's an elite playmaker, but he does struggle on defense, and he doesn't really have much athleticism. But on defense, he's okay at getting the steal. He jumps the passing lanes, but he's not a great defender. He takes risks, and a lot of times that leaves his guys wide open if he's not able to calculate that risk correctly. Alvarado's got comparisons to a couple other foreign point guards, Ricky Rubio, Steve Nash, Goran Dragic, and a Jose Calderon type guy if you're going for the lower end of the aspect. But pure point guard, one of the best point guards in the draft if you're looking for a floor general, a leader and a floor general on that side of the ball. As we get now to the final 5 spots in this year's lottery mock draft, we have Jacoby Radford, the 6'8" small forward out of Nevada, 20 years old. Radford, actually the son of a former NBA player. His father, Jalen Radford, I believe was his name. Not a real NBA player, but in this reality, his dad was an NBA player. This guy is a very athletic and physical slasher. He's great at getting to the rim, and he finishes when he gets to the rim. But his transition play is very solid. His defensive potential is there. He needs to work on being a little bit more consistent. His decision-making does take a hit, and his effort is not always there. But, I mean, this guy, great slasher, great option for, a big shooting guard or small forward that can, play the pick and roll, that can get to the rim, and he's going to dunk on your head. He's not an easy guy to defend. I really get Aaron Gordon, Rudy Gay vibes from a guy like Jacoby Radford, and he's not even known as the best shooter, but he's shooting solid from 3 in his college career right now. So we'll see how he develops over the rest of the season. As we are now at number 13 projected, we have Elijah Starks, the shooting guard out of Michigan. Shooting guard, point guard, really. Starks is 6'5". He's a natural-born scorer with a chip on his shoulder after being one of the lower-ranked guys coming out of high school. The Wolverines took a risk on him, and he's played really well for them. 23 points per game, 3.8 rebounds, 4.5 assists. I mean, this guy is lights out for the Michigan Wolverines. Starks is a very confident guy. He's clutch when you need him to shoot the ball. Mid-range game is very, very strong. 3-point shooting is pretty strong, and he is, able to take over in clutch time, and he's a strong finisher. Now, obviously, he does struggle to grasp new offenses. He's a little bit of a slow learner, and he is turnover prone, so we'll see how that develops as he gets into the NBA. But I really, really like Elijah Starks. If, we're drafting kind of high, I think he's one of the guys we're going to look at maybe draft him at shooting guard and slide him over to point guard to see how he can perform there, even though we already have Ace Bailey and J-Dub. I think that's a really interesting option or place we could go if we're in the position to do so. Comparisons for Elijah Starks, we're going to have Devin Booker, Zach LaVine, Monte Ellis, Brandon Roy, and Jamal Crawford. Really just elite scorers are anybody you can compare to Elijah Starks. Next up, we have Alexander Volkov, the 7'1" center out of Russia. He's another guy that's pretty big at 246 pounds. He's played in Europe since he was 17, so about a year and a half of experience now at 18 years old. He will be 19 by the time he's drafted. Volkov, very limited on offense. He's not a good floor spacer, but high post scoring is very, very high for him. Very, very efficient. He's a very physical and intelligent big man. Very good rim protector, and he's got soft hands around the rim. And, when it comes to rebounding, getting blocks, little float game. I like Volkov. He's a very young guy that I think can develop. He's got comparisons to guys like Arvydas Sabonis, Valanciunas, Ilgauskas, guys like that who came into the NBA a little bit less refined, but, maybe they can become better players as they get drafted and move on. Now down to the final 2 spots of the draft lottery projections so far this year. We have Zion Caldwell, 6'6" shooting guard out of Arkansas. Caldwell is a lockdown defender who is rapidly improving on offense. I mean, he's having a solid offensive year, shooting it really well from 3 as far as college goes, but we all know that doesn't always translate directly over to the NBA. Elite defender, high motor, and a developing shooter. just, as I mentioned, raw offensive skill set, limited playmaking. He really needs to refine that side of the ball if he wants to be a top guy out of this draft. My comparisons I have written down on his scouting report are Mikal Bridges, Bruce Bowen, and Eddie Jones. So some guys, you know, a little bit of scoring, a little bit of defense for some of those guys. Maybe they weren't the most refined coming straight out of college. And now we have one of my favorite players in the draft, 22-year-old out of Croatia, Victor Radmanovic. He is 22, so he's on the older side of things. He's 6'10", so he's tall enough to be a power forward, but he likes to play small forward a little bit more. He is listed as a small forward as well in most scouting reports. He is a versatile stretch big man with elite shooting, and he's played since he was 18 in the EuroLeague. Very smart, very skilled, a deadly shooter, a strong playmaker for his size, and a very high IQ defender. Now, obviously, with all that in mind, he does lack explosiveness. He's not the most athletic guy, and if you put a bigger, stronger, more physical defender on him, he's probably going to be a little bit overwhelmed. He's probably going to struggle to get to the basket. He's going to struggle to get his own shot. So he needs to work on creating for himself and, you know, getting to his spots even with a better defender on him. Very much so, I'm comparing him to guys like Toni Kukoc, Danilo Gallinari, Dario Saric, Hedo Turkoglu, or, you know, if we're going crazy, I do see him as a bit of a Dirk Nowitzki type player. I'm not saying he's going to rise to the height that Dirk Nowitzki had, but I do see him being as kind of like a Walmart version, or a we have Dirk Nowitzki at home type Dirk Nowitzki player. And that's going to wrap up the top 16 guys. Next few episodes, we'll go through the latter half of the first round and see what's going on, see what the shifts in the mock draft are, and how that goes. As always, though, I hope you all did enjoy this episode. Make sure to look forward to the next post where we'll be taking on the Warriors, and hopefully this team can turn it around going in the next few weeks and make a run into the play-in tournament if that's something this team is talented enough to do. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Have a great day, everybody.
Sounds right.